Hello, Code Green community. My name is Eric Stewart, and I'm just here playing with one of my new tools that I have here. This is what permaculturists would call appropriate technology. This is a scythe. I've been having a friend named Jim Kovaleski talk to me for a number of years about owning a scythe, and he's been up north posting pictures of scything these fields up in Maine and using what he cuts with the scythe to put into his compost pile. And I think it's just a really cool artwork, and it's an art form. It's how they create the scythe and how beautiful it is, and just using it, all of it is, it's fun. It's a cool way to cut your grass rather than a weed whacker, and it's inexpensive. I usually spend about $200 to get a weed whacker, and I've worked in the lawn care industry for a number of years, and usually with the ethanol in the gasoline, it wears and tears on your weed whacker. So eventually you end up having to get new parts, and the cost of oil and gas constantly to do a weed whacker, it doesn't make sense. And for the small amount of land that I actually have, I could use this scythe and let the weeds grow maybe another week, 2 weeks. Does it really hurt anything? And really the idea of all this is to be sustainable, to use less carbon dioxide, to use less oil, and to try and improve the natural environment. So with a scythe, we get that element, we can actually cut this grass and it becomes compostable material for our garden. And now I need to go talk to Jim and learn firsthand, but the idea is you're actually going and moving your whole body back and forth. And you can clear a good 6-foot area in only a few minutes. It doesn't really take that long at all. And you can kind of get it to whatever desired length you want. You can get it super thin, or you can get it a little bit taller. But it kind of just gives all of the grass a haircut. So I'm kind of being like the barber for my lawn. So I just wanted to play with my new toy and show you all, and get some work done, Might as well take a video of me getting some work done, right? I don't have enough of those videos. Oh, also, been working on this worker-owned co-op. I worked with a group of gardeners for the past couple of years, and we formed this co-op, and we've been setting up an online market where you can go online and you can actually order whatever is in harvest for our different gardens. The idea being that if you support local food, more gardeners will start growing local food. And the more that we choose local food, the more local food will be available. Right now, I live in Pasco County in Holiday in Florida. And the local economy is very depressed. All around me, there's foreclosed homes right across the street. I'm looking at one. There's a couple down that way. There's a couple down that way. The whole neighborhood is empty, and there's weeds growing everywhere. So this scythe, I think, will be used on these streets in the next couple of years. Maybe I'll cut back these weeds and I'll just start sowing some seeds. I don't know. But I really would love to see this neighborhood have gardens everywhere, and I'm hoping that I'm trying to encourage it in my neighborhood. I have a friend that lives down the road. She just started up a front yard garden, trying to convince my mom, who owns a property just down the road, if she wants to set up a little garden. She's not keen on it. She doesn't really have a green thumb at the moment. But I'm hoping with this co-op that we can grow our local food, and then we don't have to spend all that money on genetically modified organisms and Monsanto and all the crap processed foods that they're really cheap, but in the long run they're really expensive. And I have a lot of friends that are in the environmental field, and they talk about the industrial food society that we live in and where our food comes from and how destructive it is. One friend of mine, his name is Andy Firk. He lives down south in Florida where the phosphate mining industry is. There's all these phosphate mines where they mine for the phosphorus that used into the fields for all the industrial farming in Iowa and Missouri, for the corn that goes into our cattle and our pork and our chicken. And this whole system, it's reliant on monopolization, it's reliant on government subsidies, it's reliant on governments being in bed with corporations, which to me resembles fascism. I think fascism is the only way to talk about when you have corporations totally embedded within government. And it's just not right, you know? And when I'm in my garden, I feel that's right. And all these small organic farms that I've been visiting, that's right. These pasture-raised pigs that I go to, or grass-fed beef, the farms that I visited up in Gainesville last July, because I crowdfunded. I asked the community for a few dollars to help me get from where I live in Pasco County up into Gainesville in Orlando for a small farms conference. And I made a lot of connections, and I got to see what's going on all around the state of Florida as far as agriculture. And I feel like I'm very well versed in understanding that we have all these opportunities, you know, these small pieces of property could be converted into small farms, and we could convert all these like small areas that are abandoned in West Pasco, and we could make them productive again if we wanted to. You know, if we wanted to put people to work, and if we wanted to take on the responsibility of what we put in our bodies and what we eat, and whether or not we want to support a system that takes from us and doesn't give back. And I feel like with cooperative businesses, that principle is to give back to the community. The idea is to grow the community and to be employed by the community. Because really, it's the consumers that make all of the wealth in America. You know, it's all of us with our purchasing power. When we put our dollar bills into local food, we hire people to grow food for us. And so I've been imagining beyond just the food co-op that I'm involved in, how could we exchange this to energy? You know, there's so much energy. Why are we in the Sunshine State one of the lowest ranking solar energy providers? Why can't we be one of the largest producers of solar energy in the whole entire country? You know, it doesn't make sense. And maybe I don't understand enough science, or maybe I don't understand enough math, but to me what it boils down to of what's stopping us from having, you know, these goals is that we don't think we can do it. We don't assume that we could have free energy and we could have really cheap, healthy food that provides us with meaningful work where we live rather than getting it from thousands of miles away. And we tell ourselves, no, we can't do that, we can't do that. And I really think that we could. I really feel like if we put our willpower and we worked as a community, at least where I live in Tampa Bay, maybe in your community, wherever it is around the globe, because I have a lot of YouTube people that come from all over the world, and I'm so astounded when I look at the analytics. But I think every single group all around the world could self-organize and as a community replicate what we're doing here in Tampa. And you know, we can learn from you and you can learn from us, and we can share information in an open source economy. And I feel like this is a tipping point, you know, what's going on in Brazil and what's going on in Turkey and in Egypt. It's happening in America, and it's happening in people's backyards because they're trying things differently. And they don't like what's going on, you know? They don't like the control and the monopolization. I think people love freedom. And when we have thousands and 10,000 and millions of people really exercising their freedom to explore these different options of local food and local energy, I really feel we could unleash a dragon and it'll just take over, you know? There'll be gardens everywhere, there'll be solar panels everywhere, and it'll be, in a few years, it'll take us no time at all if we really put our effort to it. But why don't we begin? Let's go. Right now. Let's do it. Alright, I'm going back to work. Look, Ma, I don't need any electricity or oil to cut my grass. Ha 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 ha.